What's going on, backyarders? Have a pretty cool video for you today. What I want to do is compare the pellet grill versus the Weber Kettle when it comes to pork ribs today. I have a couple slabs of baby back ribs that we're going to prep, and we're going to try to cook as similar as possible, one on the pellet grill and one on the charcoal grill. And we're going to see how they turn out in the end as far as flavor, smoke ring, and the whole deal. Pellet grills are just designed to be convenient, so you don't have to maintain the fire as much. You just touch the button, set the temperature, and you're golden. So the main thing I want to explore though are the flavor, the end product, because really that's what we're all after, is the end product, is the meat. It's all about the meat, guys. You know, how does the meat compare when we're all done with the Weber versus the pellet grill? So that's what we're going to look at. So firing up the pellet grill is pretty simple. Just hit the on off button, and then we're going to use the temperature button to go to the temperature we're going to cook at. Today I'm going to be cooking at 240. Now on the Rec Tec, it's a pellet grill and it has a function called the extreme smoke function. The extreme smoke function just burns a few more pellets, gives us a little more smoke content. It's one of those spring days where you have a sweatshirt on, you get too hot, you take it off and you're a little bit too cold. I don't know, but I'll enjoy the sunshine. I'll take all that I can get. Anyway, we're using one chimney full of charcoal today. I'm gonna put it in the slow and sear and kind of let it snake from one side to the other, and that should be plenty to get us through one rack of ribs. So the Rec Tec's pretty unique in that it has a huge pellet hopper. It'll hold, I think it's 40 pounds. This is their apple barbecue pellets, so we'll give this a shot. Not all pellets are created equal. You know, some of them are definitely more ashy. Some of them have more flavor than others. And putting the water in the middle there will give us a great indirect heating zone. So your direct heat will be over here. We'll put our ribs over here. That water will last us about 5, maybe even 6 hours. On, we're going to start regulating the temperature. We'll have ribs ready to go on in a minute or two. Pellet smokers aren't known for a ton of smoke content. I think it's imperative that you use a smoker tube like this. This is a 12-inch smoker tube. I just fill it with pellets. I'll put it on the grate and I'll light it with a torch. I'll let that burn for about 5 minutes to make sure it's good and lit. Here's our 2 slabs. Now I'm just going to trim them up and pull the membrane off the back, and then we'll rub them down and they'll be ready to smoke. I usually cut the last rib or so off of my baby backs, and that's because they're all sloppy like this and nobody wants to eat that. So I just pick the last rib and usually cut just inside of it. Same thing on the other side. So I'm going to be using Cosmos Dirty Bird on these guys today. I'm going to try to make sure we do both of them about the same amount. I'll put a little bit on the inside. I do not put binders on ribs or any other meats for that matter for the most part. The natural moisture of this rib is already just sucking that rub right up. It just really doesn't need binders or any artificial moisture. This is the rack of ribs that we're comparing. It's so windy out here today. I'm sorry for the wind noise. So I adjusted my dampers, my bottom damper to get to about 240. I usually leave my top vent open as much as I can get it. And I'm going to use apple, I got 3 chunks of apple wood here. Try to keep the flavor profile of the wood the same. I'm using apple pellets. We're gonna let that get to a nice blue thin smoke, and then we're gonna put our ribs on. It's time to get those ribs on. We're gonna put our top vent on the meat side, draw the smoke across the meat. And there we go. We're gonna watch temps on this. I'm also gonna use another thermometer. These thermometers here are pretty much junk. I'm gonna use an internal digital thermometer. I'll show you that in a few minutes, where we maintain our cooking temperature. So here's the big difference between the pellet grill and the Weber as far as performance, is monitoring and maintaining the correct temperature. Today I'm gonna use the ThermoWorks chef alarm to help do that. It doesn't take long to cook your meat at a higher or lower temperature for it to really alter the results. There we go. And that's because I had the lid off, burning just above 3. So we'll check that and get that, make sure that gets back down to 240. I always spritz about 30 minutes. And when you spritz, you wait at least 30 minutes to make sure that the rub is nice and set. It brings a nice cold surface back to the meat and allows more smoke to stick. With baby back ribs, it's a variation of the 3-2-1 rule. I do 3 hours on the grill naked, then I do 2 hours wrapped, and then I do an hour rest. It's my version of 3-2-1, and that gets you just about some almost to fall off the bone ribs. So it is time to go ahead and wrap the ribs that are on the Weber, and that's because the color is right about where I want them. What I have here is some brown sugar laid out in the middle and some unsalted butter slices. And you can see the color is perfect. So I'm gonna take the ribs and turn them face down, back over, press that down nice and tight, and then flip your end up. And I'm gonna cook them just like that. Roughly about 2 hours or so at 240. Now the Weber has been running a little bit warm at about 250, but nothing too serious. I'm gonna finish them just like this. I'm gonna cook about an hour and a half, and I'll start checking them for tenderness. All right, so we are 5 hours in, and we're gonna take a look at these Weber ribs. Oh yes. Careful, they're hot. Okay, so I'm gonna take a temperature on them, but what I'm also concerned about is a pullback test. So I'm gonna stick my probe in between the bone here. I'm gonna get a temperature. Yeah, I'm 175. And if you look real close, when I pull back, you can see that the skin is pulling back with the probe. That tells me they're not done. Okay, so I need to cook these guys probably another half an hour, 45 minutes or so. We're gonna flip them back over. You can see the pullback is starting to happen on the bones, but we're just not quite there.
Oh yeah, look at that pullback. They smell delicious. And this is our pellet grill. Now we didn't put any sauce on them, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some rib glaze. And specifically, we're gonna use this rib candy right here. And we're gonna rewrap. Same thing on these guys. This is our Weber. You can definitely see the little color difference, smell a little different. Do the same thing. And that's gonna kind of caramelize. Now we're gonna place these guys in the oven. Oven's gonna be off. Just kind of, you know, give them a insulated atmosphere. And we're gonna let them sit for about an hour. All right, so here is the pellet grill ribs. And here is the Weber ribs. At the end of the day, it's all about the meat, okay? So what kind of meat are we producing with our pits? So that's why I wanted to do this. You take the ribs, put one set on the Weber charcoal grill, one set on the pellet grill, and let's see exactly how they come out as far as taste, tenderness. When it comes to appearance, the pellet grill just has a little bit more defined smoke ring, which is a little bit odd because, you know, the pellet grill is not known for putting out a high smoke content. However, I use that smoker tube and that does a really good job. So let's do the taste test. I got my little man here to help me, and we're gonna decide which rib tastes the best and is the most tender. So let's try the one on the left first. And he's not sure which one is which. So what'd you think?
It was really good.
Yeah.
Pull off the bone.
Yeah, that was real tender, great flavor. All right, let's try the one on the right. Tell me what you think about between the two ribs. Pellet grill versus Weber rib.
They're both pull off the bone. I think the pellet grill has more flavor.
That's the beautiful part about barbecue is, you know, the flavor is subjective. So every person's gonna have a different take on what is, you know, tastes good to them. I think it's very close, and I think each rib is very unique. The Weber rib is slightly less tender. I think that's because of the temperature variations. So as you're maintaining, you know, those temps, you're bouncing around 10, 15, sometimes 20 degrees or more. And I think because of that, you're gonna end up with a rib or any meat that's gonna be just slightly less tender than when you're cooking it at the exact same temperature the whole time, which is the beauty of a pellet grill. And in this case, the pellet grill rib is slightly more tender. As far as flavor for me, I think the Weber rib is slightly a better taste for me. I like the flavor a little bit more. I like the natural kind of wood, you know, charcoal kind of flavor to it. However, the pellet grill rib has a lot of nice smoke content, and it's more of a, I'm gonna say like a cleaner smoke content versus a kind of a dirtier smoke content from the Weber is probably the best way to describe it. They're both amazing, and I'm super happy with them, and we get to have ribs. So it's a success no matter how you look at it. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time.